Welcome to Canada, the podcast that helps you prepare for your Canadian adventure with clarity and confidence. Hello future newcomers and welcome to your Canadian Prep Zone. You're listening to episode number 15 and it is recorded in November 2025. I'm Emma, your host and your international mobility coach. I'm here to help you prepare, plan and thrive in your move to Canada. Today we're diving into Canada's newly released Immigration Levels Plan for 2026 to 2028. First things first, what is an Immigration Levels Plan? It is a document published every year, usually at the end of October or the beginning of November, that sets the country's immigration targets for the next 3 years. For the current plan, those years are 2026, 2027, and 2028. The goal is simple: give clarity to future immigrants, show the government's intentions, and offer visibility on upcoming opportunities. Now, who exactly is included in these numbers? Primarily, temporary residents and permanent residents. And just to keep the suspense alive, in the first part of this episode, I'll talk about temporary residents. In the second part, we'll move on to permanent residents, a highly original structure, I know. Let's start by defining what a temporary resident actually is. A temporary resident is someone who comes to Canada to study, work, or visit for a limited time. Their stay has a clear start and a clear end date. Who are the temporary residents not included in the plan? People renewing their study or work permit, people changing their immigration status, seasonal workers who enter and leave Canada within the same calendar year, asylum claimants, and visitors. All of these are temporary residents, but they do not count toward the plan. So who is counted? International students and temporary foreign workers. An international student is someone obtaining a new study permit for a program of 6 months or more at a designated learning institution. A temporary worker is someone obtaining a new work permit, mainly through the Temporary Foreign Worker Program, TFWP, or the International Mobility Program, IMP. The TFWP is jointly administered by IRCC, so Immigration in Canada, and Employment and Social Development Canada. It responds to employers' needs when no Canadian or permanent resident is available, and it requires a Labor Market Impact Assessment, or LMIA. For its part, the IMP covers a variety of streams that do not require any LMIA. Now that we know who is included in the plan, let's look at the targets. The new plan announces 385,000 admissions in 2026 and 370,000 admissions in 2027 and the same number in 2028. Of the 385,000 expected in 2026, 60% will be workers and 40% will be students. That is 230,000 admissions for workers and 155,000 admissions for students. Is this a decrease from the previous plan? Yes, and a significant one. In the 2025 plan, the target for 2026 was a bit over than 516,000 temporary resident admissions. Now it's 385,000 admissions. That's a drop of a little over 25%. Why? Because Canada aims to reduce temporary residents to below 5% of the population by the end of 2027 in order to ease pressure on housing, public services, and infrastructures. Are these numbers alarming? No, It's more like a rebalancing. Let's use an analogy. Picture a tightrope walker who leaned too far left, then too far right, and is now trying to find balance again. Here is what I mean. In 2018, temporary residents made up 3.3% of the population. In 2024, it was 7.5%. The target for the end of 2027 is around 5%. To give you a sense of scale, as of August 2025, almost 2.3 million temporary residents were in the country of just under 42 million. It's a big number. So, should you give up your plans of coming to Canada as a temporary resident? Absolutely not. There are still spots available. I'll just say it again. Yes, quotas have decreased, but yes, there are still possibilities. But your application will now need a solid strategy and a flawless file. Approximation won't cut it anymore. Now, time to move on to permanent immigration. There are 3 major categories for permanent residency: economic immigration, family reunification, refugees, protected persons, humanitarian, and other categories. Let's break them down. Canada prioritizes economic immigrations, so individuals and families who bring experience, skills, and value to strengthen the economy. These applicants are selected federally or provincially. In 2026, this category will represent 63% of permanent resident admissions. Family reunification allows citizens and permanent residents to sponsor close family members. In 2026, it will represent 22% of admissions. The last category includes refugees, protected persons, and humanitarian cases, representing 15% of admissions in 2026. Now, let's look at the numbers. The targets for new permanent residents are 380,000 per year in 2026, 2027, and 2028. Compared to 2025, that's about 4% less. But here is the important part. Last year's plan already listed 380,000 as the target for 2026. So this decline doesn't come as a surprise. It was expected. What's more interesting is this. In the previous plan, 2027 was set at 365,000 admissions. In the new plan, 2027 is bumped up to 380,000, and therefore it's an increase of 15,000. Another key point, and yes, it's a juicy one, while the overall number stays at 380,000 per year, the share of economic immigration is growing. 59% in 2025, 63% in 2026, just over 64% in 2027 and 2028. Encouraging news for anyone applying through economic pathways. Okay, what do those numbers look like for economic immigration? Over the expected 380,000 new admissions, 239,800 will be for economic immigration, and the remaining for family reunification and refugees. Let's take a step back. 380,000 new permanent residents per year represents just under 1% of Canada's population by the end of 2027. So in summary, Canada wants to reduce temporary residents to under 5% of the population and keep permanent residents at under 1% per year. Now, who is Canada looking for? Canada aims to attract top global talent to support its economy and address labor shortages. The priorities include attracting skilled workers in emerging tech, healthcare, and the trades, positioning Canada as a destination for entrepreneurs and startups, speeding up processing and improving newcomer integration, increasing the number of Francophone immigrants outside Quebec, creating clear, predictable pathways to permanent residency for temporary workers and international graduates already in Canada. And that's the end for today. Now, my usual disclaimer. This podcast shares information about Canadian immigration, but it does not constitute immigration advice. I am not an immigration lawyer, and I am not a regulated consultant. For program selection or file preparation, please speak with an accredited professional. And that's it for today. Thank you for listening until the end. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe to the podcast, give it many stars, and leave a comment. It will make me happy, but more than that, it'll help new people discover the podcast.